What's going on, everybody? You can call me Heroes 3 Guy, and this video is another secondary skills video. Today we're going to talk about the secondary skill, Mysticism. I'm going to explain exactly how this skill works and the goal that it's intended to accomplish. I'm also going to discuss how it's interrelated to some artifacts, adventure map objects, a primary stat, and also another secondary skill. I'm also, of course, going to give you my opinion of the skill and whether or not I think it's worth having a hero invest in it. As many of you guys are aware, heroes can cast a wide variety of spells, whether it's on the adventure map or in combat. And in order to cast these spells, your hero needs a certain amount of spell points. The amount of spell points needed depends on the spell. Now, naturally, every hero will regenerate 1 spell point per turn, or per day. Now, this is where Mysticism comes into play. And as a secondary skill, it of course has 3 levels. At Expert level, as you can see here, your hero will now regenerate 15 spell points per day. At Advanced level, it would be 10. And at Basic level, your hero would regenerate 5 spell points per day. Now, this ability was buffed in Horn of the Abyss. If you were to play Heroes 3 Complete or Shadow of Death, it would be a lot less. At Basic, it would just be 2. At Advanced, it would be 3 spell points per day. And at Expert, it would just be 4 spell points per day. Another thing to be mindful of is this is not an additional 15 spell points per day. So it would not be a total of 16 for Sylvia here. It simply changes your base regeneration of 1 to 15. So while it may seem like Mysticism could be a very useful secondary skill, I will say a good player will find other ways to accomplish the same goal that Mysticism is set out to accomplish. And more times than not, Mysticism will become obsolete and unnecessary for your hero. Mysticism is not the only means by which your hero can increase the amount of spell points they regenerate per day. There are actually 3 artifacts in the game that do this very same thing. So if you look here, we have the Charm of Mana. That allows your hero to recover 1 extra spell point per day. Then there's the Talisman of Mana, which allows them to recover 2 extra spell points per day. And then we have the Mystic Orb of Mana, which allows them to recover 3 extra spell points per day. And not only do these artifacts stack with each other and the 1 base spell point regeneration that all heroes have, when you have all 3 of these, they will actually combine into the Wizard's Well, a combination artifact which allows your hero to regenerate all of their spell points after each day. In addition to artifacts, there are a number of adventure map objects which can also help your hero replenish spell points. Probably the most common is a magic well, which will fill your hero's spell points to maximum, and you can visit this every turn, once per turn. So if you look at Neela here, she has 0 out of her maximum amount of 100 spell points. Send her to the well. Well, now her spell points are at maximum instantly. Another common way is by simply having your hero stay a turn inside of a castle. And as long as that castle has at least a level 1 mage guild, their spell points will be filled to maximum. And if you happen to have a dungeon castle, they have a unique building called a mana vortex, which will double your hero's spell points. Now, this lasts for a week. And not only does it double them, but it will instantly fill your spell points. So if you take Sorsha here, who has 0 out of his maximum of 100 spell points, you send him into the dungeon castle with the mana vortex, and as you can see, you have doubled your normal spell points, and it has instantly filled them. And you can visit this mana vortex once per week. Now, let's say a week goes by, and Sorsha has yet to revisit the mana vortex. Any amount of spell points over 100 that he has yet to spend will remain there. Now, if he spends more than 100 spell points, and then let's say refills his spell points at a well, it will just go back to that 100. The maximum threshold being doubled only lasts for a week. And then there's an adventure map object that functions much like a mana vortex, called a magic spring. And as you can see here, it doubles the maximum spell points once per week. And it also instantly fills them. So if you take Sylvia here, who has 0 out of her maximum of 100 spell points, you send her to the magic spring, it will instantly fill them and double it, just like the mana vortex. And the cool thing about the magic spring is that it has 2 entry points. So let's go to this Pandora's box, which is going to take away all her spell points. And if you look where she just was on the magic spring, it shows that it's been visited. However, if you move to the other entry point, it has not been visited. You can visit the same magic spring twice, and it will of course double the spell points now, again refill her back to the 200. There are also a couple adventure map objects in the water. They cannot be found in the land, only in the water, and the first is a vial of mana. These will give you either 30, 40, 50, or 60 mana instantly. So as you see here, 50 spell points were given, it disappeared. And the cool thing about this is, let's say this hero's spell points were already at max. Whatever amount it would have given you, it'll give you half that amount over your max. So if he had full spell points and got this exact same vial of mana, it would have given him 25, and he would be sitting at 125 out of 100. And then, not the most convenient way to get mana, but yet another method, is by going to the Altar of Mana, where you can sacrifice creatures. For instance, 25 goblins here will get you 12 points of mana. He's sitting at 0 spell points. You sacrifice the creatures, and there are his 12 spell points. So the whole purpose, the advantage to having the secondary skill Mysticism, is so that your hero will replenish more spell points per turn, and therefore be less likely to be caught in a situation where they're unable to use spells. Now, there is another way in which you can make it less likely that your hero will be caught in a situation where they're unable to cast spells, and that is by simply getting a large pool of spell points. And you can do this by accumulating a good amount of knowledge, a primary stat. For each point of knowledge, your hero's maximum spell points will go up by 10 points. And of course, you can get knowledge by leveling up, but also a number of artifacts will give you a significant amount of knowledge. In addition to knowledge, there is a secondary skill called intelligence, which I will make a separate video about. And this secondary skill, in Horn of the Abyss, will increase your hero's maximum spell points by 50%. So I wanted to show you guys how many spell points Mysticism would replenish on a high-level hero whose specialty is Mysticism. So we have Rozak here, who's level 59 and has the specialty Mysticism. He would receive a 5% per level bonus to the Mysticism skill. Now, he has Expert Mysticism, and he has 0 spell points. So let's go ahead and press turn and see what it does for him. And as you can see, he has regenerated 60 spell points. That's 4 times what Mysticism would do for any other hero at expert level. Now, I will say, level 59 is an extremely high level. And if you are in a game where you have heroes who are this high of a level, you're probably already going to have an extremely high spell point pool to where that 60 per turn is just a drop in the bucket. And on top of that, you probably also will have access to at least 1 Wizard's Well, an artifact which we discussed earlier that will replenish all your spell points per turn. All things considered, I wouldn't say Mysticism is the worst secondary skill. However, I do tend to avoid it, as there are plenty of other secondary skills that I would much rather have. Eventually, in most of my games, Mysticism becomes obsolete and unnecessary. I've found plenty of other ways to replenish my spell points, and I have accumulated a large spell point pool. to where the amount that mysticism replenishes becomes less and less of a percentage of my total spell point pool. It can have its uses, usually early in the game, but even then it eventually becomes obsolete and a good player finds other means to accomplish the same goal that mysticism has set to accomplish. I hope you guys enjoyed my video on the secondary skill, Mysticism. I hope it was both entertaining and informative. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Am I being too hard on mysticism? Are there more uses to it than meets the eye? I'd love to hear what you have to think. And also, please like my videos, and of course, subscribe to my channel. Thank you.